Hey, this is Skyler with Regan. Today, we're going to dive real briefly into a recent bankruptcy news in subprime auto bonds and company. Uh, if anybody's heard about this, it's been pretty big in the news, especially for a very, very large subprime auto lender, Tricolor, which is based here in Dallas. Just a real brief overview. Tricolor is based in Dallas. They primarily lend to Hispanics. We kind of see them all over Dallas. Just a real brief, Google search Tricolor bankruptcy kind of gives you an overview. There's something like 30,000 creditors. And this story evolved real quick. And what caught our eye were a handful of bond trades that we'll get into here real quick. But just a review of the timeline. If you search Tricolor bankruptcy, you're going to see a lot of news articles here just within the last day or two. Reuters, CNN, Kelly Blue Book. But what was really interesting, and we go down to Car Dealership Guy, that had this come out 4 to 5 days ago. Okay. So if I go to that, if I look at their archive, you have this news on September 8th, which is Monday, but then you also have news down here on September 7th. So when we click onto that, and that's this article here, tagline September 7th, Tricolor suspends operations, places majority of workforce on temporary leave. And then you click further down. This was actually broke. Let's click onto that. This was actually broke on September 5th, which was Friday, by Univision Dallas. So, you either need to speak Spanish or have a translator on to get to the bottom of what actually happened here. But they effectively put 90% of their employees on leave. And Tricolor has actually been taken over by a lender. Okay. So, what was interesting when you look at this timeline relative to some bond trades that were going on. So we're going to look at this bond right here. We're going to look at this deal, and the ticker here is Taste Mortgage, and that'll bring up all the issuance they've done. They started issuing bonds back in 2017. They did two issuances this year, totaling about $550 million. We're going to click down on this bond right here, this deal, which is the first deal this year. And this is how these deals are structured. Okay. You have A all the way down to E. These are the residual tranches that usually the issuer has to keep. But we're going to focus on this E tranche here that was originally double B rated, double B/B2. This bond actually has 23% credit support. Okay. So you take this large pool of auto loans that at origination totaled about $400 million. Today, it totals about $337 million. And you could see here, these are 61-month loans, 5-year loans. The underlying loans are paying about 17%. Okay. So you take 17% coupon paying loans with about a 5-year amortization schedule. And you could see here, you started with basically zero delinquencies. Today, you have 14% delinquent loans that are 30-day delinquent. Most folks just look at 60-day delinquencies, which is 8% currently. So you have $400 million originally. Let's look at the structure of this deal, A down to C, or A down to E. And at origination, the E tranche had 19% collateralization, 19.5% subordination. So you're not going to take a dime of losses unless 20% of the loans go kaput. Okay. Add on to that, you also have a tremendous amount of what's called excess interest. So you have that 16.5% coupon that the underlying borrowers are paying, but the bonds themselves, the senior most bonds only paying a 4.94% coupon, the junior most bonds paying a 10% coupon. So let's do a real brief under the hood and how do you figure this out? Well, what does that mean exactly? You have $400 million in collateral paying 16.5%. You have the A, B, C, D, and E tranche. And we're going to figure out real quick how we can understand what the excess spread is. Okay. So I'm going to take those original balances there, plop them into there, and I'm going to call this resid. This is what and that is the sum of this. Take this minus the sum of this. That's what the issuer retains. Let me just clarify this. So you have 328. There we go. Okay. So the issuer retains that $72 million in residual tranche. Okay. So then I'm going to take the coupons here. And I'm just going to do this. I'm going to take weighted average. Divided by that. Boom. So you have about 11% excess spread, which is this minus this. Okay. 10.8% excess spread. So on any given month, that excess is going to go to pay down the A tranche. And you can see here, the A gets paid first. So this is your original face. And let me bring in original face just to get to how it originally was. What we were looking at was, I have it there. So you have original, and then this is current. So you've had about $60 million in A payoff, then the B pays off, then the C pays off, et cetera. And while that's happening, what's happening is the deal is delevering. Okay. So the A credit support went from 45 to 53, up roughly 10 percentage points, whereas the E that we're focused on has gone up about 4 percentage points, which means the deal is getting paid off at a faster level than the underlying loans are getting paid off. Those loan prepayments, et cetera, are going to pay down the A, and it's allowing for that E tranche to become safer over time. But what's really interesting here is where these bonds traded. And so that E tranche, even though it's only B rated, was considered to be 100% money good. Okay. It traded Monday morning. Remember, Univision reported on Friday. Car dealership guy reported on Sunday. They reported again on Monday. So someone came in Monday morning at 8:14 and traded $3.25 million of these bonds at 105.8 for a yield of 8%. Okay. That's a fairly safe bond, to be honest with you, at 8%, given that nobody knows what's going on. So you had a couple of subsequent trades where this traded at 105.44. This presumably went to a dealer. The dealer sold it to a customer up 12 cents. That's $6.25 million bonds. 22 minutes later, 7.6 million trades, up another 12 cents. Okay. So you're talking about $16-17 million in trades that went on Monday. Let's go back to a lot of that news. But the issue being that most major news sources only started reporting on this on Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay. So lo and behold, on Wednesday, somebody sold 3 million bonds 2 different times. And this might be a double reporting issue, but somebody sold these bonds at $12. Okay. Roughly $100 lower than where they traded on Monday. And you can see some other issuances down here. This is the D. We're talking about the E tranche. The D tranche traded basically at the same level. Traded on Monday at 103. Traded Wednesday at $12. Just a little insight into timing on this, which is really, really interesting. You have a Univision Dallas reporting on Friday, car dealer reporting on Sunday, Monday. Real news doesn't start coming out till Monday. Some folks got these trades in Monday morning, and this is across most of these deals, most of these case deals. We just wanted to look at one individual class that traded almost 100 points down between Monday morning and Wednesday when it traded again. Some crazy stuff going on. Still a lot of stuff being unveiled here, whether it was primarily fraud. That's a concern here, not just subprime auto loan delinquencies, which have gotten a lot worse this year. But the main concern here being fraud. and that the issuer was using loans across multiple deals. Okay. So they were using the same loan pool across one or two or three of these deals, in addition to pledging those loans as collateral to banks in non-securitized format. So you have a handful of banks coming out saying, hey, we have exposure to this. We're on hold. So brief update on Tricolor. Thanks for joining us. Take care.